So we thought we'd have some fun with the InsurTech game show. Our first contestant loves hockey and is here as broker number 1. It's a good old hockey game, and she'll be here as broker number 3. Our next broker contestant loves a nice Hawaiian vacation as well as fishing. Come on up.
Thank you.
No, hold on. I got a fishing rod for you. Have a seat there for you, sir. And our final broker contestant comes from the disco age and loving that background. Please join us, Mr. Brad Neal. We can have a round of applause for our contestants, please. Now, as with the InsurTech Gating Game, we have to have a client as a participant who is going to select one of these brokers as their one and only broker for a particular product line. I'd like you to meet our client. The real estate client has about $5 million in revenue and is in desperate need of cyber liability insurance. Please welcome to the stage Sharon from the Green Room.
All right, brokers, I have some tough questions here for you. We'll start with Mr. Disco here.
Thank you.
What sets you apart as a broker?
I can dance. I've got rhythm. And I'm in tune with my customer.
That's amazing. Broker number 2.
You can call me Rod. What sets me apart? I buy my shoes at a box store, and they're not made of bulletproof or destructive proof.
I don't know. I think I would like it to be bulletproof. Sounds interesting.
Well, I think I can set you up with someone.
Okay.
And I would say what sets me apart is I use technology to focus on building relationships.
Awesome answer. So I hear that
Teachers
cyber is the new fire. What's your favorite color and why? Broker number 2.
My favorite color would be green because that's the color of my wife's eyes.
Broker number 1.
Red, because I'm thinking of Russia.
Okay, that's interesting. Broker number 3, same question.
I was going to say red too.
Why?
It's exciting. It's exciting.
I will
not very
say
techy.
all of you brokers are very, very interesting. So I have one final question, and this is kind of the make it or break it question, all right?
Yep.
I'm a very impatient person. If you had a computer and 1 minute, can you get me a cyber quote right now? Broker number 1.
Yes, I'd call Jeff McCann.
Awesome. Broker number 2.
I'll get back to you.
Okay, and broker number 3.
I think I can probably get that done.
Oh, you're going to do it right now. That's great.
Are you working on the paperwork over here? Or what's your...
I'm just firing up the browser right now, actually.
I'm not doing anything.
You gonna get an application form going, or
I'm looking up the application form, but it's coming soon.
We'll call you back tomorrow.
business hours, or can we get overnight service, or do we gonna FedEx this in?
I'm working from home. I'm sorry. I meant the next day.
How about yourself here? Are you gonna get a broker, maybe a CSR in charge of this, or how do you get your team involved?
I'll have a group of CFSRs fax you.
Any insights from the disco ball?
Well, back in the 70s, when fax was a incoming technology, I looked at that and I said, you know, it's a fad. It won't catch on. And I'm still on that. I'm on that kick.
The interweb probably a fad too. Looks like we have our quote here from broker number 3. We have monthly pay as an option as well as the annual pay option. Thank you. You can go back to your seat now. Thanks very much. You're set for a fishing trip.
All
Back
right,
to our
so-
client here.
Yeah, I'm ready to pick my broker. So broker number one, you're really smooth. I like the fact that you can dance. Broker number two, I'm just too impatient for you, so I don't think we'd make it. Broker number three, I choose you.
Thank you so much for all of our contestants. Please give them a big round of applause, as well as our client who was able to get a cyber quote.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
No, you can have that. You can take that with you.
It's okay, it's okay.
So we thought we'd have a little bit of fun with it. Enough panels sort of for the day, and kind of highlight the idea that right now, every day, you have producers out there, you have CSRs out there. Everyone's trying to sort of achieve the same thing, and there's a bit of a beauty pageant that comes with that. And a big part of it is just the access to a quote, being able to just serve the client and get back to focusing on that relationship. This is not stock photography. This is an actual picture from a brokerage office that I took, and I like to use it in my slide decks. And it's very organized, but it's obviously driven very paper-based. And even organizations that I talk to, I spent a lot of time on the road. Even in the last 2 weeks, I did Edmonton, Red Deer, Calgary, Toronto. We were down in Niagara on Monday. Everyone will say, yeah, we're a paperless organization, and then you go in and there's just stacks of paper. Or one thing that I love to really point out is that even if you're paperless, the new version of paper is PDFs or fillable apps. And so as a startup, when we went to go buy a basic office package, this is what was sent to us by one of the largest brokerages in Canada. I don't know if you can see, but in the top it says page 2 of 7. And this is a Word document, and it's great. It's fillable, at least, but number one, the data's locked in this, and it's still a friction point. And so, for us to be able to have to fill that out, send that back, sign it, we don't own a printer as an organization. We never have. And so we made that as almost a statement point. We've had to print about 4 documents at Staples because the British Columbia government still uses a fax machine. And so we actually don't own a printer, and so to have that extra friction point, yeah, it's paperless, but just because it's a PDF doesn't necessarily mean paperless in sort of the 2019 standard. One thing I want to point out too is that millennials, everyone sort of talks, millennials, like it's this sort of the space age kids out there, but millennials are almost 40 years old. And so it's really, when a lot of the stories now are really the Generation Z that we're talking about. And so when we're talking, we're behind on millennials, if you're behind on millennials, you now have people in your workforce and people that are some of the largest consumer bodies out there in the next generation, which is that Generation Z, whereas millennials are really the people that are in your organization that are in vice president roles, that are very high up in the organization. So we have to sort of almost adjust our thinking that, yeah, we were late to the party with serving the millennials, but the millennials are now like, that's already passed. We're full on sort of past that phase. So whenever we're sort of saying, and we have that lingo, millennials, what do we do? This is a 40-year-old that we're talking about. And we know that technology is moving quickly. I love Brad's comment about the fax machine. And a lot of people did think the fax machine was going to totally disrupt the whole industry. And I love the comments from Accenture about sort of, where the overall mindset is. And it doesn't necessarily mean to be that it's disruptive. And so a lot of people are obviously eyeing this space right now as an opportunity for investment. And so over the last few years, there's been just huge amounts of money poured into the insurtech scene. 5 years ago or so, insurtech wasn't even a word, right? And now there's entire conferences about it, and we're talking about platforms. So I come from the broker channel. My background was a commercial producer. I never did auto or personal lines. And I had sort of seen these overall trends, and 2 years ago decided to quit my job and start what's now the Apollo Exchange. And so over the last 21 months, and I love some of the commentary from Ali and Sachin about sort of that startup life, and Neil from Players Health about sort of what that journey is. And when I quit my job, I went on one trip out to Toronto, came out here, and I met with a whole bunch of insurance companies, and they're like, no, we have a portal, or we have one on the way. Or, you know what, that API is going to be ready next month, kid. We don't need it. It's going to be fine. And in the last 21 months, we were able to go out, we raised $1 million of seed funding. We partnered with 10 insurance companies. We have over 500 classes of business that are immediate quote, bind, issue, payment settlement, and all the payments are also routed to the insurance companies and the brokers, and monthly pays included. And so in almost or less than 2 renewal cycles, and I still have friends that work at my old brokerage that are just sitting there just churning out policies. And for us to be able to run that fast and work with our partners on both the insurance company, and we're almost at 70 or so brokerages now that we work with, it's an example of just how fast and how that partnership model can really work. And so in that light, I'm not saying this to just sort of brag and talk about it. The reason I want to talk about it is to share what we've learned, the reasons why we solve certain problems, and the way that as a team, we're almost 15 people now, we approach problem solving. And one of the biggest things that I'm all about is that radical transparency. So you can ask me anything about it, and I'm willing to show you, tell you stories, tell you how bad it was, how good it was, where we totally stepped in it, where it's working. And part of the overall dialogue here is to be able to just share some of those insights and the way we look at that problem solving. The biggest thing that we decided at the very beginning wasn't that we were going to disrupt the industry. We don't believe in that. And I think a lot of people early on said, no, you guys, us in a room here, we don't have a clue, right? We're going to come in and we're just going to disrupt this whole thing and blow it all up. But those people have absolutely no idea what goes on the day-to-day inside a brokerage. They have no idea what happens at what I call the cubicle level of our organizations. And so I think that there's a way better position to empower the broker channel, and that's where we've positioned our business. So our biggest thought is that InsurTech is not without people. And a lot of times we go in and talk about technology and people say, oh, it's going to replace everybody. And the way we see it is where are those mesh points between us that are in the industry and our clients to be able to say, we know it's not without people, so how can we augment the human experience and how can we support people to be able to better serve the overall client base? For us, we have sort of 2 clients. We both have consumer and we have broker clients because of the way our technology works, but we're not actually consumer-facing ourselves. Our vision for a company and for an industry is where computers do the work so that people can build relationships. And everyone always talks about advice and counsel, advice and counsel. No, I like to have touch points and engage my clients, and then they go back to ignoring their inbox so they can process certificates for the next renewal on that one program that everyone has to gear up for year over year. We used to have a large franchise. We had 2,000 franchises as a customer, and literally we would load the postage machine with $30,000 and a team of people in a boardroom would process that, stamp the envelopes, and have a whole sort of overall cycle. And I know that that's happening in offices across the country. So how can we empower that group of people to, instead of spending all their time processing those documents, to be able to have outbound outreach and talk to those clients, engage, have a touch point, whether that's via email, via phone, or via relationship. So what I want to talk about today is the changing expectations of consumers and employees. A lot of the overall narrative so far has been about consumers, and I love that we've been sort of set up, so I'm going to slide through that pretty quickly. But I also want to talk about how those same millennials that we talk about buying from a website, self-serving, buying shoes that are made from plastic bottles, well, those same people are the future of our industry. And so how are we going to create a narrative that makes those millennials and that Gen Z be able to come into our organizations, run fast, have an entrepreneurial mindset, and be able to be successful and help us transition that knowledge that is in this room into that next generation? I really see it as 4 things. Low barrier to access, so how can you access insurance as easy as possible? Low barrier to support. So how can I, if I have a question, get that question answered with as little friction as possible? The third is a feedback loop. As has already been talked about, technology isn't like building a house, you walk away, the house is done. It's a constant evolution now. So we constantly have to be learning from our customers, and we have to be hearing what they want, and what they want today won't be what they want next month, and it won't be what they want in 2 years. The reason why there's face swap and the next thing that gives you bunny ears on the next sort of phone app is because we're constantly evolving to the expectations of that next consumer. What's the next cool thing? What's the next in thing? And we don't even know what that is right now, so we have to constantly evolve our way into it. And the final thing is trust and value. So as an organization, when that consumer's looking to buy from you, what is that trust factor, and how do they see your values as an organization coming through in the way that you communicate, the way that you do business? With our phones now, we have the lowest barrier to access we've ever had. Everything is mobile. In your phone, you can do almost anything. It's instant, it's 24/7, and the new world that we live in is mobile. I'm going to give you a couple examples. We have a 20-year-old marketing coordinator. She runs all of our LinkedIn. She leaves the door unlocked, orders Foodora or Uber Eats, and has it delivered to her couch. Not to the front door, to her couch. That might sound crazy to us here, but everybody talks like that. They're like, well, why would I even go outside when I could just have them come bring it right into the front door? You can date anybody from anywhere. You can order clothes from anywhere, and the Accenture example was excellent. And even with Uber, you can book it from your phone, you can get in the car, and then you can just get out and leave. You don't have to pay, but you're still paying. And I love the Uber experience because it's very similar to us as a broker channel experience where you still have a human being that you're sitting down and you're really doing business with. That hasn't changed. Now, maybe self-driving cars and all that one day will change that, but today it's still a person that's just driving you around, but it's how you engage and found that person, and it's how you transacted business with that person that has fundamentally changed. The actual relationship hasn't changed at all, and it's very similar to the way the broking community works and can be augmented by technology. So our first problem that we had to solve was how can we get a consumer to have the lowest barrier of entry to be able to buy an insurance product? We started with commercial products, and what we do as a company is we manufacture products with insurance companies that are all quote, bind, issue, immediate pay, and we white label them for brokers. So we'll go to a broker and say, hey, do you want to be like the Shopify of insurance? Do you want to be like Lemonade? Most brokers are like, yes. Some are like, no. And we basically power them within a couple of days, turned on 500 products. It's your branding. The consumer doesn't know that Apollo's in the background. So that was the first problem that we had to solve. The second was monthly pay. How can we offer a monthly subscription type experience to be able to integrate that? So right now, off of all of our products, you can buy that insurance policy and you can say, no, I want the monthly option. And instead of all the bank account and all that, it comes off your credit card. And so that was a fundamental shift where as a small business, I've probably got, 50 things that come off my credit card that are all monthly pay options. And we know that the small business credit card, everyone wants their points. So that was the second problem that we had to solve. The third problem was a lot of brokers said, listen, we don't have website traffic. We're not good at digital marketing. What we're good at is we've got 50 producers that are great at shaking hands, building relationships. So we had to pivot our model, and we had to be able to solve that pain point by saying, well, we don't want consumer-facing forms. We need a broker-facing environment. And similar to our broker game earlier on, the broker needs to be able to access all those same products. So we built an entire environment in the back end where the broker can log in. And we see a lot of success where it's decentralized producer networks that don't really have digital marketing, aren't driving that traffic, but all their producers are able to log in, access those products, sit down at a coffee shop, at a restaurant, at the client's site, and be able to get them that immediate quote. We call it bricks and clicks, where it's hitting the bricks out there, shaking hands, but it's on the technology side for the fulfillment, as opposed to what everyone automatically thinks with InsurTech, which is no, Facebook ads are going to sell insurance and I don't have to do anything. It's that marriage point between the human experience of the broker or the agent with technology as the fulfillment. If you look at other industries that have done this very, very well, Clearly Contacts, you can go in their store, ask them questions, try on the glasses, but if you want to buy those, you walk over to the computer and you actually buy from their e-commerce platform. Casper Mattresses, same idea. Indochino, you can go in and get measured up for a suit, and they'll ship it to you from the other side of the planet, custom made, faster than we can get an insurance policy to a client, or even a quote, depending on who the broker was in our little game earlier. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Apple's the other example of that, where they have this user experience where you can walk in the store, you can have a brand experience, you can touch and feel, you can talk to someone, you can ask questions, but realistically they have no inventory, it's all digital fulfillment. The next problem we had to solve is, how do we reduce the friction to supporting those customers? So for us, how do we support our brokers? For you, how do you support that end client? Live chat is a very low barrier entry point. There's a few chatbots out there and whatnot that have sort of been working well, but it's a really good way because, like we talked about before, they don't want to come in the store, they don't necessarily want to call you, and they're like, I don't really know what I'm doing here, so can I just ask you one question? So if you're not using live chat, you've got to be using live chat. One of the things I hate the most about our cell phone sort of providers in Canada is you call them and they tell you on hold for 45 minutes how they're the greatest company that is and how many awards that they've won. So having not only triage systems for phone calls, but having a callback module, and you can buy outsourced basically software that allows you to be able to say, no, just call me back whenever you guys have somebody available. Help desk software, I'll show you in a minute. And then being able to scale your expertise. And so content and video is a big thing right now for if you're getting the same question and across your brokerages and your businesses, whether you're an underwriter or you're a broker, you're definitely getting asked the same question 50 times today. So how do you take the answer to that question? How do you put it into a video? How do you put it into a blog post? How do you put it into a white paper and then scale that expertise and proactively answer that question? You know the next person is going to have it. So can you email campaign your customers? Can you have a piece of content that says when someone calls in, hey, I got that question, you answer it, you follow up with saying, hey, here's that blog post that just so you have it, you can read it later, you can refer back to it. So how do you scale your expertise by using content? The way that we solve that is in our marketplace environment, which is our broker-facing portal, basically, we have live chat. And we know that everyone hates portals because you get kicked out or you have a bug or it's frustrating. And so we have a broker success team because we don't have underwriters, where basically it's direct live chat into them and you can ask them questions inside the experience. So we had to really solve that problem because we were getting all these phone calls, listen, like it's broken or there's a bug or I tried clicking this button and like it just doesn't click, and like we're a startup. Like these things are going to happen as we evolve. So now we can triage those and we can lower that barrier to entry. Instead of that being a frustrated user who's just like, forget this, I'm never coming back to the Apollo marketplace, I'm never coming back to this. No, they're able to be like, hey, I had this problem, we can go in and we can try and solve it for them before they abandon and never come back. And before they go and tell 5 other people in their office, listen, don't use it, it's stupid, it doesn't work. And I used to be that broker. I would go try something, I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever, and I would definitely tell everybody I could about it. Everyone knows that water cooler coffee room where those conversations are happening, we all have them. The other thing we did is we added help desk software. So as we answer any of those questions, we build out content around that. So 24/7, even when we're not on live support, you can go and you can get our FAQ and you can see the answers to those. And this is similar to whether you're a broker serving a customer. That customer should be able to come to your website and access those commonly asked questions and be able to have that information at their fingertips on their own terms. And that's really being driven by other industries driving those customer expectations. The next thing that happened is brokers came to us and like, listen, I have no idea what's going on my website. Like, how many quotes have we done? Like, Joe called me and said they got a quote on the website, and like, I don't know how to help Joe. So we're like, okay, like, good point. You need to be able to pick up that application and help Joe when he calls in to complain or to ask a question before they bind the coverage. And so we built an entire CRM environment so that the broker can then log in, they can pull up and search any data point. So it's not like, oh, what's your TAM code? It's any data point, name, phone number, anything like that, Elasticsearch, and you can basically pull up that customer record. Even if they dropped off after 3 questions or 10 questions or they got all the way to the checkout page, you can pull up that record and you can go in and you can bind the business over the phone. You can go see them. They can come into your office. But it really supports that omni-channel experience. So you can see every single customer record as they come in. But that data transparency, we didn't realize on the outset, it's not just about the consumer forms. It's really about that marriage point between how is the broker going to answer that question when the consumer calls in if they don't even know what's going on and they're totally blind to the interaction points. And so we've had to be able to build a user experience where that mesh point between the broker and the way they serve their customer is serviced by the platform and the technology that we've built. The next one is establishing a feedback loop. And this is something I think is done just poorly in general because it's hard to do, but you have to be able to ask your customers, what's going on? What do you like? What don't you like? And it takes a lot of candor. The word vulnerable got used up here on stage earlier, where you have to be like, listen, we know we're not perfect. Like, we know that there's stuff in there that doesn't work. Don't come in and be like, oh yeah, it's great. You have to have that candor. You have to be able to ask and engage your customers, whether it's us engaging brokers, underwriters, and consumers, or whoever you consider your customer to be. How do you establish that feedback loop? Collect that information. Categorize it into buckets. Act on it, and test new things. We talked about fail fast. All right, we have all this feedback that brokers want to figure out how it's happening on their website. Let's launch this CRM thing. And then we don't think it's perfect. We know that it's just, hey, this is the MVP version of that. Let's act on it quickly, and if it doesn't work, let's turn it off, or let's iterate on it. Follow up, how is that feature working for you? So as an example, we had a feature where if it got kicked out of the platform, it would automatically send the application to a panel of underwriters. We're like, this makes perfect sense. We're doing the broker's job for them. They're going to be so happy. The broker would get emails from all these underwriters being like, hey, it's going to be whatever quote, whatever price. Brokers hated it. They're like, we want to control the process of marketing the account and broking it out to the markets we want to place it at. We didn't think that at all. We had no idea that that would be the case. So here's something that we thought was a great idea. We acted on it, we got feedback, it was a total failure, and we just turned the whole thing off. Now maybe we'll iterate on it, we'll learn from that experience, but that's the type of mentality is that fail fast on short-term, small projects. It's not fail fast on a $5 million implementation that didn't work. It's how do we just, you know what, next week, let's just try this. And then let's make sure that we're hearing feedback from our brokers. We collect feedback in two ways. One is the qualitative feedback we get through the live chat and through those call-ins. And the other one is we collect a ton of data. We know where the drop-off points are. We know what questions people hate. We know what products convert with which brokers in which regions. We know traffic data based on time of day, based on weekends, based on product. We know where drop-off points are, not just quote to bind, but if you look at the conversions on the top left there, we know who started the application, how many people got to indicate it. That's that halfway, first time you see a price. If there's a huge drop-off after that, we say, well, our price is out. So we go back to our underwriters and we try and iterate on price. Or we know if there's a whole bunch of drop-offs, we know, well, because that landing page is something that we can adapt on. But being able to be data-centric and data-driven allows that feedback loop to be just constantly iterating. So when we talk about things not being like a house and being more of a journey, how are we just constantly establishing and maintaining a feedback loop that creates action items out of it? And with that comes the kick-out questions. Everyone hates getting kicked out. This is the worst. You get to the end of that application, sorry. You wasted your time. I can't help you. You're at Starbucks, you say, can I have a cheeseburger? They're like, no, we don't sell cheeseburgers here. So we look at our kick-out questions very, very closely, and we say, hey, that sucks, like I feel bad. But then we go back to our underwriter, and we're like, listen, question number 7 is killing us. You know, we've had 42 kickouts on this thing. Can we change this question? Can I add 5 more conditional logic points and an additional premium and just give them a quote? I mean, double the price, at least give them something. And so we constantly iterate our products based on that. And that's one thing where oftentimes, especially on the underwriter or the company side, you launch a product, you have no lens into how it's performing. You say, I want $1 million volume commitment. The broker comes back, they have 100 grand. You're like, you suck. And the broker's like, well, I quoted you to everybody. Clients just don't buy it. Or it doesn't quote better than this other thing. Or actually, you need an endorsement on that because there's a massive gap. Or whatever that qualitative and quantitative feedback is. It's critical where in an ecosystem or these types of platform environments where you can collect data in an effective way that you can make decisions on right away. I'm not going to name the company, but there is one company we're very close with. I think that they like us, but they hear from us. Because I hate hearing from brokers saying I got kicked out again, right? So how do we change the product or how do we find another market to drop in an additional product that we start routing based on the algorithms? All right, market number 1 doesn't have that appetite. Now it's going to get sent to market number 2. But being able to collect and action that data is the key to that feedback loop. And then trust and values. When it comes to marketing to millennials, and again, millennials being 38 years old right now, 71% say they prefer brands that drive social and environmental change. And I know that we hear that out there, but you think that millennials are bad, the next generation, it's going to be worse. So what is it that we're putting out there through our marketing, through the way we present our organizations, through the way that we talk about our company, the way that we look overall at that user journey? That user journey isn't just, oh, it's easy to buy stuff now. The user journey is easy to buy stuff and $1 goes to saving the ocean. The user journey is I got to buy shoes online. I'm going to use the Accenture example, but they were also recycled plastic, so I like both sides of that. And so now when we're talking about user journey, it's not just mapping it out. It's mapping it out plus how many trees are we planting on the side. I'm going to pivot that to employees because all those same consumers that we're talking about, they're the people we have to hire now, and we have to train them, and we have to teach them 50 years of insurance knowledge in about 15 minutes because there's going to be a huge retirement. So all the consumer expectations are also our employee expectations, and then plus some. The Hartford did a study, 4% of millennials are interested in an insurance career. That's bad. That's real bad. Like when I came out of university, I had an accounting degree. The big four accounting firms, they would do barbecues and parties. And man, I was like, I am going to be the best accountant ever. And I went to Pricewaterhouse and I was like, I love accounting. And then I was an accountant. I was like, this is terrible. Like, are you kidding me? Accounting is outdoing us? We get the best jobs ever. My first job in insurance was in ski resorts. I drove around and visited ski resorts and helped with loss control. I went skiing. They didn't come to campus and talk about that. So what are we doing as an industry? I mean, like, have you seen the CPA commercials? They're out there jumping out of helicopters. I mean, we know they're not actually jumping out of helicopters. This is a problem for the industry, but this is a problem for everyone individually. Now, I go into broker offices and underwriting companies, and I say, we have this technology. It's pretty damn cheap. We just take a transaction fee. And they're like, do you have 5 people in that bag that I can hire also? Kid you not. Employment and HR is the biggest problem. And whenever you implement a new system, I know people that have transitioned their BMS providers, different things like that, where you have an HR problem. You don't have a technology problem. You have to now train, support, onboard, iterate, deal with frustrations of all this mesh point between technology and people. So it's not a technology problem. It's easy to build technology. I mean, they're sending people to space and all that. It's a people problem. And it's a brand problem for us as an industry and for us individually. So when we talk about individually, what we can do about that is what are those values that are driving people into our businesses? Get those people out of accounting. Get them in here. This is an interesting stat, and it just goes to the magnitude of this problem. 200,000 open positions in the industry will go unfilled last year. 25% of the workforce is going to retire. That's crazy, right? And those people not just are leaving, but they're leaving with everything that they know. And it's not written down anywhere, it's not documented, and it might be in a paper file, but you can't search it. So I'm in there and I'm like, okay, what happened in 5 years ago on this account? No idea. How am I supposed to pick that up? How am I supposed to be able to serve that client? Right now, hard market. Nobody that's a millennial has been through this. Not mention talking about, I'm going to save you 20%, I'm just going to go shop the market, which is what everyone's, for the last 15 years. But we're also talking not just getting quotes that are 30%, 50% more expensive. We're talking about not being able to place coverage. How do we have those hard conversations with the consumer? How do we prepare them for, listen, because of negative yield bond rates, your small business now pays more money? What? How do we educate and create a narrative around that? And that's going to take education from the experts in this room and the people at the top to be able to spend that time teaching, onboarding, and maintaining relationships with young employees who are going to be the future of the organization. And on the day-to-day, they're the one that has to answer the phone. There was a great joke about the CEO and then the staff level person who answers the phone. And it's like the CEO's like, oh yeah, everything's fine. Like I know everything about insurance. That staff level person, they answer the phone, they don't know what's going on. They don't. We got to teach them. We got to help them. So funny enough, it's the exact same 4 things that we're trying to solve for our consumers. How do we solve them for our employees as well? How do we create a low barrier to access, low friction to support, feedback loop, trust, and values? So let's talk about low barriers to access. Telecommuting. If it takes you 2 hours to get to work, that is a high barrier to access your job. If you have a problem at 11 o'clock at night, client calls you and you literally can't access your terminal server that sits in the office or whatever because you can't VPN or whatever the challenge is, that's a problem. Or if you have to log into your personal computer to be able to try and access client data, there was a privacy and security thing up here earlier, it's a real problem. So, and not to mention that, but is it all cloud-based? So at our company, the way we solve that is everyone gets a computer, but it's all laptops. You put your laptop down at your desk, everyone has monitors, plugs them in. We don't have a single desktop type computer. We have the Microsoft Surface for the non-dev team, and we have MacBooks, which are more expensive than they're worth on the dev team side, but developers are touchy people. My CTO's not here, but I think we're filming this, so. Internal communication. How do we lower the barrier to access each other, right? Oh, Joe's out of the office, and he wants to know what the deductible is because he's about to go stop by a client's office. Does he have to phone in and get someone? What's the barrier to us accessing each other, not just accessing the office? how do we increase the communication and the flow of communication? I don't want to send a 2-line email and all that back and forth and fill my inbox. So we use Slack. A lot of people probably heard about Slack. It's an instant messaging tool. It's basically MSN Messenger, which already happened, but they branded better and, like I said, better VCs behind them. A lot of our staff have cell phones that are company cell phones. We don't have any hardline phones. And the reason is that I don't really care where you are. I expect you to answer your phone. And if you're at home, you're like, okay, well, it's not my company phone. I'm not gonna answer that, right? I want my staff to be able to text me if they need something. I want them to have full access to me. I believe in something called servant leadership. My job is just to serve my staff so that they can go succeed. So how do we lower the barrier to access of the knowledge? Hey, I'm a 30-year-old producer on the road. I just had a question from a client. I have no idea. Can they text the senior person in your office and ask that question? What's the barrier to entry for that knowledge transition that I'm talking about with this whole movement out of retirement? How do we reduce the barrier of knowledge transfer? And then tools to achieve goals. So we use a huge number of SaaS solutions. We have Adobe PDF, which allows you to unlock and edit PDFs. If you issue a CSIO certificate, you PDF it, they come back and say, you spelt additional insured wrong. You don't want to go back through the 15-step workflow. You want to be able to open that, change the letter, send it back off to the client. You can change the years of date. So we have so many different SaaS platforms like this that are, $15 a month for the company, $20 a month, $10 a user, whatever it is. And we run our entire company off of that. And so how do we empower people to use tools? So many times it's like, no, we only have 2 licenses. Like the EA has a license for that and somebody else. But like, we don't let our producers have licenses. I'm like, it's $7 a month. That guy's book is like $2 million, and you won't give him $7 a month so that he can help his CSR learn what he does or she does. So how do we, again, use technology that isn't overhauling your BMS? It's very simple, easy to implement software solutions that are just turnkey. A lot of them have freemium versions that you can go live tomorrow to better manage your knowledge transfer, your communication, your task management. One we haven't solved is daycare. And I'm just saying this because it's a humongous problem. I know so many brokers that are building daycares in the back of their brokerage. Daycare is a for real problem. We have one of our investors who is trying to launch an initiative to change the rules for outdoor space for daycares so that you can have a daycare like an office building. Like, how do you have a daycare at 150 King, right? So I don't know what the solution is, but I just want to highlight this. It's a very important thing to me. My sister is like second kid on the way, and she's just like, if I go back to work, it costs me more because I have to pay $2,000 a month per kid in daycare. So I don't know what the solution is, but I just want to highlight that because it's an important thing. But again, it reduces the barrier to accessing your job. And that's the most important aspect of it, is it's a barrier to accessing success. When it comes to support on the employee side, virtual education. So if you're answering a question for that one person, can you sit down that producer who knows everything, spend 20 minutes and just video record them answering how deductibles work, how it's different than retentions, or it's, equipment breakdown is not quite included, or it's this, or here's a gap in coverage, or here's how D&O works, or whatever that is. If they have that question, is there a way that you can create virtual education by documenting that answer, whether it's in written content or in video content? One thing we do as a company is fireside chats. I'm very fortunate as a startup CEO to have great investors and great mentors on our board. So I sit down with these guys that have built humongous companies. That same daycare example, she was the second employee at Plenty of Fish. They sold for $800 million. I get to sit down with her and say, hey, so we're like 3 people and then we became 5 people. Like, well, can you help me with this? But how do I allow our team? So we have CEOs in the room, we have executives in the room that have a great network. But think about this conference, and almost every conference that I speak at, there's never a 25-year-old producer in the room. And those are the ones that probably need this information the most. And so how do we create that knowledge sharing? And so one thing that was great at Pricewaterhouse that we adopted is fireside chats. We bring in those investors so that everybody in our company gets to hear from them, hear their story, ask them questions, and have that sort of informal mentorship. At PwC, they used to do it with the partners, and it was once a week. It was sort of a lunch and learn, and it was the partner just riffing on, hey, this is what's going on. This is how I built my career. But that knowledge transfer of why you should stay in insurance because I built a great career in insurance and you can too, that type of messaging, people go weeks and months and years, and then you don't hear until either they quit or it's their annual review and they're like, you know what, I don't think this is for me. And you're like, oh, I didn't think you were unhappy. And they're like, well, you didn't ask either. So how do you have that back and forth, and that decentralized knowledge sharing to be able to, again, transition the retirement community out into the millennials and the Gen Z and reduce that friction by formalizing those opportunities. From a feedback loop perspective, internally, we do one-on-ones, so I try and meet with everyone, even if it's just 20-minute coffee. Hey, how you doing? Right? Because then if they have something to say, and usually you get them going, they're like, oh, I'm going to tell you. And that's great, because I have no idea otherwise, right? And that same person will just sit there quietly and do their job until they find another one. And then all of a sudden, I've invested all this time, effort, money in building somebody that now isn't an asset of our organization. And when you're a startup, you can't afford to lose those people. At bigger companies, maybe you think you can, but you really can't. Those are the future stars. And then what we do is agile methodology, which is a 2-week period called a sprint. Every 2 weeks, we set what are we doing for the next 2 weeks. We plan that out. So if we're going to test a new pilot, a new project, we say, okay, we're going to test that for 2 weeks, and then at the end of that 2-week process, we have a retrospective. And this is the most important thing that our company does. It's the most important process that we have. It's from the agile methodology. It's something called Scrum. I'm happy to talk to anybody about it. It comes from Japanese manufacturing. They adopted it into technology development. We run it across all of our companies, sales, marketing, otherwise. The retrospective process is where we create 3 columns on the board. One is for liked, what we like is going on. One of them is lacked, what's going wrong, what did we learn, and then the 4th is shout-outs. Everybody sits down at a table, you get a pad of sticky notes. Nobody talks because we don't want groupthink. And you write on the sticky notes, what do I like? You get lots of great feedback. Let's keep doing that stuff as a company. And then you get to what are we lacking? Hey, you know that thing we tried? It ain't working. Or you get to have a developer here from the customer success team, the broker success team. Listen, brokers hate that button is blue. Can we make it a different color? And you get this knowledge sharing across silos, but also you realize, wait a minute, 7 people all wrote the same sticky for the same problem. All totally independently, everyone's thinking the same thing, but nobody's saying it. So you go 2 weeks, nobody brings it up, no one talks about it. So we do this at the end of every 2 weeks. It's on a Friday. We have snacks, we have beers, and we just sort of talk it through, but it creates structure around. It's not just event session. We document everything. And then if 3 weeks or 4 weeks go by, we realize, oh, that same thing's still on there. Like, we really got to solve this. Because now it's something that becomes a frustration and it's a pain point. And then we have shout-outs. And it's just really nice to be able to be like, hey, nice work, right? You know, you got a 20-year-old marketing coordinator, stressed about school, taking the bus, whatever. And it's just like nice to be like, hey, listen, like we got a lot of great feedback about how we do on LinkedIn because of that campaign you did. So it's a really cool way to just have that interpersonal connection of just like, hey, nice work, and have those shout-outs that you can go a year until someone's annual review to be like, hey, you're doing a great job. And they're like, where were you all 12 months? Millennials want instant gratification. They want instantly to know, is this working, is this not working? Am I doing good, am I not doing good? Because we were built in an environment of education through university where it's constantly just you're doing good or you're not doing good. Here's how you rate against somebody else. Here's why you got into school. Here's how your grades were. And likes on Facebook and Instagram and all the rest of it. You're trained to post something. How is it? I want to know from everybody right now. Did you like it? I only got 6 likes. We're being trained, right? And so how do we recreate that experience that's being trained by the rest of our lives, and how do we create that inner office communities and inner office environment by having a bit of a fun session with a bit of structure? We can document, this is what we like, this is what we're lacking, this is what we're learning, and here's some shout outs. And then it comes to trust. Do they trust that you have their back, that you're willing to invest in them? There was a stat about 80% of millennials think that they're leaders. They're not all leaders, but they think that they're leaders. So the fact is, how do we nurture that mentality of, you know what, we're investing in you because you got to meet the chairman of the board and you got to meet that investor and you got to come and shadow that lunch meeting, even though you're a developer who's 25, who has nothing to do with this sales meeting, but you got to come and hear how we talk about our business, how we talk about the industry, and we get to hear from the client or the other person how they talk about their problems and their struggles. That type of knowledge sharing and that type of investment, and then also as a business from a values perspective, how we're embedded in our values and how we're actually demonstrating them every day. Not we hired a consultant, they wrote some values down and like, yeah, we're like, we got the values. They're like on the wall somewhere, I think. But how are they actually coming out? So in our retrospective, we write the values on the wall, right? We make sure. Everybody, when they sort of get minted, they get a coin, and the coin at our company has the values on it. And everyone has to carry it around, and if I call them out and they don't have it, they have to do push-ups, or we don't buy lunch for them. I kid you not, if you watch our LinkedIn feed, you'll see Margot doing push-ups 2 weeks ago because she didn't have her coin, which is it's not good. But you have to live those values, and you have to start to the top, and it can't just be a consultant. It has to be real. So having that trust with them, that they know that you care about them, you're investing, you're empathetic to the fact that they took a 2-hour commute both ways, or that their kids are sick and that adds additional stress, and when you ask for that certificate to get changed, they're just like, it has nothing to do with the certificate. Or they just don't have the tools to do the job because you're not willing to spend $7 a month, right? So how do we create that trust and really live our values as we're demonstrating that from the top all the way down to the organization? And that's all.